Welcome to our monthly webinar. This month we have the webinar, as you know, on the subject of Pegasus CIS, specifically on CIS 5, and specifically the subcontractors within the CIS 5 module. So welcome to my webinar. You guys know now we run this on a monthly basis, looking at different areas of our different software. And also want to just introduce to you today Louise Dickenson. I've worked with Louise for many years. Louise has trained me before at Pegasus. In my own words, Louise is a product specialist when it comes to the construction industry software suite from Pegasus, but she's also a very established Pegasus trainer in the product, specifically in the CIS product. So in a moment, I'm going to pass you over to Louise. I'm not going to do any presenting today, and then Louise will talk us through the subcontractors module in CIS. I will open the floor for any questions at the end of the session, and see if there's anything. In the meantime, if you have anything as we go along, type it for me into the chat area, and I will pick it up when we come to the Q&A section. So Louise, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today and to show off some of this functionality. And yeah, if you want to, you can now share your screen, and I will stop sharing mine.
There we go. Okay, everybody. So obviously
Perfect.
I'm using CIS 5, which I gather some of you are. What I'm actually going to run through is first of all, the settings on subcontractors, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with a lot of it. Just wanted to run through it on CIS 5 because if your system is being set up for you and you've just done a like-for-like upgrade, there may be elements in the settings that you're not aware of, features that you're not aware that CIS is capable of doing. So that's where we're going to start. And then I'm just going to run through orders all the way through to payment, transaction inquiry, and then we can have a question and answer session. So a lot of this you will know, some of it you may not, some of it you may pick up as thinking, that's quite interesting, never knew it did that. If you know all of it, great. It means that you're using CIS 5 to its maximum, which is good to hear. But let's see how we get on. So starting with our subcontractor settings, really like this on CIS 5 that we've just got one screen of settings rather than multiple tabs that we have to work through. So my first one here, this is all standard stuff here, auto allocation of order numbers. But this one here, allow multiple orders for each subcontractor job combination, brackets use tasks. In CIS 5, this was just tagged as use tasks, and people used to think, what on earth does that mean? So they've changed the label on this feature, and actually I would recommend that any company has this switched on. There's a very good reason for that. Not only does it allow multiple orders for a subcontractor job combination, which if you've got it unticked, you cannot do that. You just keep having to amend the order that you've originally set up for that subcontractor job combination. Only one allowed without this being ticked. If you use tasks and you create a subcontractor order, CIS will automatically ask you or offer up a task number. If you've got auto increment task numbers switched on, it will offer up one for you. So this is a numbering sequence for orders for each job subcontractor combination. So my first order for, say, Alexander Innes, which is the first subcontractor on the demo data, for Ross, say, Ferry Terminal, which is the job everybody uses, the first ever order it would give me is task number 10. My second order for that subby and that job will be task number 20. So what, you might think? I only ever have one order for one subcontractor job combination. The reason is that if you've got this ticked, auto create default subcontractor order, for when you're putting on subcontractor invoices for which you've never raised a subcontractor order for, CIS will create a dummy order behind the scenes. If you've got that ticked and you've got these ticked, you can filter orders that you've raised manually on the subcontractor orders listing very simply. And that's really important because the HMRC demand that there is a contract between you and your subcontractor for every bit of work that you order. And CIS covers that requirement by automatically creating a default subcontractor order for you with a 0 value. You're not interested in those orders. You just want to see the orders that you've raised manually, and this is how you do it. So that's a good one to start with here. The other thing on here, so unless you want to actually raise nominal journals for applications received, don't know if you would do that, but you can actually do that here. But the other really good one, if I can remember where it is. Yes, so we can email subcontractor orders to people who have been allocated to your job. So these do not have to be people in your organisation. They might be a subcontractor in their own right. So you might have a subcontract site manager, for instance, set up on your staff settings with their own email address, set that to yes, and they will get a copy of the subcontractor order when it is emailed. Didn't used to get this in CIS 4, so really good stuff here. So those are the things, the two things. There is another one on here, which is to use authorization. Not sure if any of you are aware, but the ordering on CIS for both purchase orders and subcontractor orders, most companies just have one level of approval. So you approve your orders. That's when they get sent, if you're doing automatic emailing, over to your subcontractor or supplier, and that's it. However, there is the option to have an authorization hierarchy within your organization. So let me give you an example of that. I'm a junior buyer. I place an order for a subcontractor for £50,000 and I approve it. You don't know that until it's gone. And the subcontractor says, great, I've got an order for £50,000. It should have been £500. With authorization, I can be set a limit of what I can order, a monetary value of what I can order. So Louise cannot order at any place, any subcontractor order over £500. If I go over that £500, CIS will automatically email the next level up in authorization to say, you need to go and approve this order. And I cannot approve that order at all. Not only that, but if you then turn on the layers called expenditure underneath that, you might say, Louise can order, I'm just going to go back to purchase ordering for a moment. Louise can order materials for site up to £500. She can only order, I don't know, order for stationery up to £50. And CIS is capable of putting in that level of control. So those were this little area here was what I really wanted to concentrate on the settings. And then this great bit down here where you can, in the background, email following recipients the orders. This is the same on purchase orders as well. So all of these tasks, all of these work type of people can be allocated to your individual jobs. As long as they've got an email address set up on their staff record, CIS will send them a copy of any purchase order and attachments. Okay, So I think that's it. Everything else is just standard out of CIS 4. Some of the processing out here is all the same, but out of period certificates, yes, if we want to, so say you get a certificate that's out of the current period, can you process it? Yes, you can. So it's that kind of thing. Okay, so there's our settings. It's going to go back to subcontractor orders. By the way, this is my little screen setup. I just love CIS 5 and what this ease of use for the users, absolutely brilliant. So just going to go into subcontractor orders. And here is my lovely new view, CIS 5. And here we have the problem where many of these orders, which are zero value, have just been automatically created by CIS when I'm just putting on, say, a jobbing invoice for a subcontractor, which, by the way, was a setting in settings, auto-create a subcontractor order. So you don't have to keep stopping, putting your invoice on, going back and putting an order on when it's just, you've already got just a Dayworks invoice with you. So here's my default view. I've just created a couple of views here, one by job and one by subcontractor. So I'm just going to do that one by job, just to show you that one. This one by subcontractor. And then I've done a separate filter, which is live orders only. So they are the orders that I have manually created on CIS. So I'm going to create a brand new order for Alexander Innes. Now on the subcontractor record itself, we now have, sorry, I skipped that bit. I'll just go back to that bit. Just go back a moment. Just go back to my subbies. Just getting too excited about putting an order on. So on here, you might have noticed that we've now got these CHAS health and safety number accreditation numbers on here with an expiry date, and also your normal PLI and professional indemnity. Absolutely brilliant, because as you can see, when I go back to subcontractor orders and try and put on an order for Alexander Innes, it immediately flags up to me that it warns me that indemnity and public liability insurance, the two must-haves for site, are due to expire at the end of the month. Won't stop me putting an order on. It's just saying you need to do something about this. We'll also check the subcontractor details there, which we always could. And then let's just put Rothsay on there. So here I've now got my task number, because if we look at here, I've got Alexander Innes. I've already got two orders for Alexander Innes, task number 10 and task number 20. So let's just put wiring 2 stores on there. None of this is mandatory, as you know. And here is expenditure type if we were going to use this authorization levels. Expenditure types are not mandatory unless you make them mandatory. And if you were going to use authorization and your buying hierarchy, I would strongly recommend that you do make them mandatory. It doesn't stop somebody choosing an expenditure type where they've got a higher level of buying, but we are really pinning people down on this one, and it's easy to see if people are using the wrong expenditure type. So this is wiring. Now, many of you who place or have subcontractor orders placed may well just stop there, put a value in there, and let's do that. So I'm just going to say £1,000. And on automatically on reverse charge VAT, there's no variations on this job. And I'll have 2.5% discount and 5% retention. Okay, that's it. That's what most people do. Now, not only is it telling me that the two must-haves are due for expiry, but also the health and safety and accreditations are due also to expire. Okay, so I'm just going to show you my subcontractor order layout now. And there we are. Nice, pretty Oasis subcontractor order, showing me exactly what the terms are on this order, reverse charge VAT, and it's from me. However, it is unapproved. So that's well and good. I could just approve that and off I go. But what I really want to do is to break this order down. So if I press items, just put a new one on here. This is wiring to kitchen. One at 5,000. Just change that. And then wiring to, let's just have cold store. And we could put a note on here, advise 2 weeks before work commences. Freezers can be managed. Okay, and that's already starting number 3. That will do me. So that's now overwritten the front value. So I'm now on a £7,000 order. And this time if I print it, there we are. I now have schedule 2, which is the schedule of works. I can cut and paste into these notes as well. I can have anything I want on here as long as I want full schedule of works. And because we are itemizing the works, when we receive an application from the subcontractor, we can mark off how much of this work has been done by item type, which I think is pretty neat. Okay, so I'm now going to approve this. And that is ready to go. We do also have variations on here. It's always puzzled me a little bit with variations until I actually spoke to the authors of CIS. I was lucky enough to have 2 days with them. I said, why can't we print the variations out on the order? And the answer to that is the order is the order. When it goes over to the subcontractor, that's it, that's your contract. The variation is subject to a separate communication with the subcontractor. So it won't, the variations do not print out on the order document at all. I couldn't really get my head around that, but that's the way it works. So if anybody at the end of this can enlighten me a bit more, I'd really appreciate it. I'm just going to unapprove that and just put on a variation. Now, when you put variations on, this is your actual grouping. So this is the variations to work on kitchen. And when you save that, then it opens up the variations themselves. Now, we have variation type, which is quite clever. Am I adding this to the cost? In other words, am I going to charge? Well, are we going to get charged for it by the subcontractor, or are they going to bear the cost? So this is works to ceiling infrastructure, for example. And that's it, starting up the second one for me. And there we go. So I've now got £2,000 on the variations. And I print my order again. Still my original order value. and still the original schedule of works. So my question, I can understand the logic of that, but my question is I can't quite see how you order that work from the subcontractor as a variation. So yeah, always been a bit of a mystery to me, that one. Okay, so we've approved that order. So if I just go back to my default view, notice I still only have those 4 original orders which were put on live, and that's because I'm still on my live orders only filter. So if I go back to my default, there they all are. So one of the questions that I've always been asked about orders is, how do I close them, all of these orders that are being created automatically for me? I want a nice clean order book that I can look at, which means something, and this is how. You do it through your views, and then you filter it down to your live orders only. And there are my task numbers. So my filter on this is my task number is not equal to none, which is what CIS creates when it creates an automatic order. Okay, so time passes and I receive an application. It was Ross Say, wasn't it? Yeah. So now, because there is a live subcontractor order, I'm not getting that automatic message coming up saying there is no default order for this subcontractor. And there is my wiring to stores. So they are applying for £5,000, and that's it. That's my application that's being put on. I'm still getting that same warning look. All of the warnings come up when I try and save. And then the QS or whoever comes along who's measured the work comes up and says certify subcontractor order items. And there they both are. Well, they've completed the wiring to kitchen, so I'm going to tick that and say 5,000 on that. We supplied the materials on this one. And that's that done. Perfect. Reverse charge VAT is working, discount and retention is working. So I'm going to mark that as certified because it is. Yes, please. And here is my transaction date, which is going to post into the job and also through to our back office accounts, whether that's Sage or Pegasus. And there we go. Now, I don't know if any of you are running the document manager, but we could have a document here as well, which is attached to, this could be their application. I've just been brought a lovely cup of coffee. Thank you very much. So yes, with document manager, we could potentially see this now. Could use a detailed breakdown. However, I could use the detailed breakdown here. And I can also do an internal valuation, which is, this is how much they have applied for, and this is how much we think the job is worth. So they might have applied for £5,000. Our QS might think it's worth more than that, or indeed less. So that's the use of internal valuation. It's your own, if you like, cost valuation, reconciliation values that you can use, put into CIS to use for forecasting profitability on the job. So this is now certified. Nothing else for me to do. I'm quite happy with it. So back to subcontractors. Process certified applications. Yes, please. And there we are. Obviously, the VAT is starred. I say obviously, the VAT is starred. And down here, we've got VAT to be reverse charged. So the batch reports are actually picking up the fact that the VAT is payable by the subcontractor and not by us. Okay, and I'm just going to update that. And there we go. So there's our orders, apps received, and process certified applications. So we're just going to go into standard invoices now. Batch driven, as always, just do a new batch. People always, people on site, the clients on site, if I'm working with them, always get amazed because they sit there and they think, I don't know really what to do on that batch description, but it's not mandatory. And they never realised that before. I always advise it, but it's not actually mandatory. So let's do a new invoice. I'm going to do a different job this time. Love this search facility on CIS 5. And there we are. Warning, this job does not have a default subcontractor order. I have set the demo system up, this system up, so that it creates one in the background, which the standard demo system does not do. Very annoying. So let's do 2 out of 5 again. And the other one, obviously, is if your system has been set up fully, then you should never have to enter a nominal code because it should be attached to the cost heading. If you have to change it, it means you haven't got enough cost headings. So create cost heading 1 for 1 for your nominals, always. Never one cost heading for multiple nominals, because that messes up your reporting. So I'm going to do 20 hours this time at £50 an hour and 2,500 on material. Pre-VAT, I'm not going to put a pre-VAT contra in here, but again, we are on reverse charge VAT, which it clearly says. Now, we have a problem here, and I don't know if anybody has come across this. When I was first testing CIS 5, it came up with this error when I entered a retention and a retention due date. And I think if I save this, it will still actually work. We'll see. Yep. So it's just one of those irritating problems. So it's now started another invoice. Let's just see if that one's there. Yes, it is. So let's just go back into that. So if you have this error message come up, it's been there since, I think since the start of CIS 5. Bruce might correct me there, but just ignore it and carry on because it's fine. So I've got the notes on here, which is fine, as many as I like, and I can put, I think it's 36,000 characters in here, copy and paste if I want to. Okay, so that is a simple invoice. I'm just going to do another one. And this time I'm not going to do anything but save it. Because now I can put multiple jobs on for this invoice. Do the other, yeah, I'll do the other phase because I haven't got anything on that. There we go. So this is so let's put in a value on that one, and we'll put material on that. I'm not going to do a discount and a retention on that. And then another job, so I'll have Newcastle. Right, I've run out of room here on the narrative, which is a bit of a surprise. Yeah, I thought it was a bit, I thought it was a bit longer than that, but never mind. Save that. Okay, that will do me. Oh. There we go. So I've now got 2 invoices on here. One of them a multiple, which is this bottom one, and one of them is a straightforward one. I've got to put an invoice number on that. Wanted to show you those expiry dates. I'm wishing I hadn't now, but never mind. Okay, so there are my 2 batches, my 2 invoices on the batch. So I'm just going to go back 1 level and update. Lovely. Okay, just going to check that that posted, because what it didn't automatically print the batch. So if I just show history, so there's my history. Let's just print that, and there we go. Using CIS4 for so many years, when these reports came to screen, I was always looking for the little view button, expand the view up here. It took me ages to notice it was down the bottom right, but there we go. And that looks fine to me. Again, we're on reverse charge VAT here. Okay, so we now have something to pay. We've gone through our orders, through apps received, certified and updated, and if you like, day work invoices or one-off invoices, and the 2 different types that we've got there. Again, one of the questions that I've often been asked is, how do I do a credit note? Credit notes aren't that common with subcontractors, don't know why, but it's simple. You go in, you do an invoice again or an application received, and you certified, and you reduce the on the apps, you reduce the amount of being applied for life to date on the job, and you certify less than you certified before, and that will create a negative certificate. And on the invoices and timesheets is simply a negative value on the, I think it's on the labour value or the materials value, and that will create a credit note. Okay, so we're going to go to subcontractor payments. Here's my Alexander Innes. I just want to filter by, actually, just do it like that. That's easy. So I'm going to pay that one, and I'm actually going to pay some of that one, because I'm a bit concerned at what they've done after I said it was okay to pay it. Very clever the way that this has been done, by the way, because part paying a certificate, particularly if in between the time that you posted this invoice and came to pay it, there was a change to that subcontractor's tax status. So say they were on gross no deduction and now they're on 20%, and you've verified them in CIS. CIS, well, as you know, with CIS4, offer you the chance to apply that change in rate to these invoices that you are now paying. However, the programming involved to do that on here is absolutely horrendous, and they've done a brilliant job offering you up just the labour, for example. So your tax deduction on that would be now be 20% of £500. Sorry, missed my materials there. Yeah, so your tax deduction calculation on there must only be on this bit, which is £100. And then, of course, the VAT calculations on top of that. So although it looks quite straightforward, absolutely horrendous. Pre the last version of CIS 4, you could only change the actual value. It didn't offer a split on it, and it really didn't calculate it very well. So I'm just going to pay a couple. That one's can't do that. Probably couldn't do this on any of these. No, I think I'll just leave them as they are. Or I'll just go and verify. Is it Alexander Curran? Can't remember now. Ashbourne, I think, was one. I'm just going to verify them manually. It will make them 20%. Yeah. Okay. Probably fine. I've just verified one that isn't on here. There's current. There we go. Never mind. Get the idea. So I'll just do Alexander Innes at the moment. So that's all I want. Okay, so just go back here. And can actually, as you know, mark certificates on or off hold, but I'm going to auto create my batch, and that's my payment date, which is also going to go over to Opera or Sage as the Ashbook payment date. Over to my batches, and there we are, auto created. There's the value. If I wanted to change this batch, and again, this is a question that new users to CIS, they get very worried about all of this. How do I change this? Well, you can just delete it, or you can just go into certificates and change it here manually. So it's really user-friendly. But because it's payments, people do get a little bit worried about it all. One thing on the batch is you cannot do a negative payment. So whatever this value is, it's got to be more than 0. Okay, so let's post the batch. Oh, actually, I better print the payment certificates. I don't know what these are going to come out as, looking like. That's not too bad. Okay. Another question, why can't I print my payment certificates? Why can't I even see them? And that is because if you've got automatic emailing turned on, they will go automatically and you won't have them being printed. Another really unpleasant question is why, when I email, has it emailed all the certificates in the batch to the first subcontractor on the list? And that is because you haven't got automatic emailing switched on. I'm getting a bit of background noise. I don't know why. Somebody got their microphone on. Okay, that's better. Yes, if you don't have CIS emailing turned on, it cannot do anything but email the whole batch to the first subcontractor in the list, which is not what anybody wants. So you have to email them manually. So I'm going to post batch. fine. Just a warning. Okay. So I failed because I haven't got my payments set up properly on the demo system. It doesn't like that, does it? Bear with me 1 second. There we go. Try and post that again. There we go. So that's now created that batch. So we've gone full circle now, all the way from orders through to payment. Doing all. Great. Transaction inquiry. So we've got these wonderful views. I don't know how many of you are getting to grips with the views. I think the authors have done a fantastic job on these views. Absolutely love them. So here's one of my views with the certificates and when they were paid. And I've got fixed columns here. So if I just look at my columns, I fixed the subcontractors code and name. And I'm going to right click on here, best fit all columns. Just working away there so I can actually see something a bit more meaningful. And if I just scroll along, you can see that the subby and subby name is fixed, which is great. And there's my outstanding payment. And also, as you know, export this to Excel. And it's quite a nice, notice I've got Document Manager turned on here, which I could have saved this into Document Manager if I wanted to. So that's pretty well, it's a bit more seamless than CIS4. However, if I just go columns and instead of fixed, I do grouped. Let's keep that as grouped. Okay. So this is now grouped and is showing me one line per subcontractor. And if I just click down on here, sorry, if I just right click on here, I can full expand, which I think is really nice. Now, this is one of the, I think the great pluses of CIS 5 over 4. You could never get a subcode total on CIS 4. You used to have to chuck it into Excel and then try and do it. You could get a total per subcontractor, but that was it. And then on my export now, export with detail. And what that's actually done is it's exported the summary view, but it's using Excel's subtotals. Over here, it's 1, 2, 3. And 1 is the most summarized level. If I click on the plus, there's all the detail underneath it. What a great tool that is for CIS users to be able to do this instantly. Absolutely love it. So I can actually full collapse everything, and then I can do a save as. Well, I've saved that with SC certs with date paid now, which was a bit annoying, but yeah. Okay, so that's now saved that view. I can go back to my defaults. There are no filters on here. So if I just go back to, let's just do it by subcontractor. It's going to go up to the top there, Alexander Innes, filter by selection, and then I'm going to save that filter. Okay, go back to my default. And now I want SC certs with dates paid, which is all of them, full collapse. Will expand, sorry. But then I can just go Alexander Innes. And there you go. Great stuff. So there's my transaction inquiry. But I've also got invoice postings for just invoices as well, and application history. So again, I can set up my own views on here, do whatever I like, create as many views here. And the other thing with the views, if I just go back again to the ones that I've just created on the transaction inquiry, this one is so powerful. So if I just go back to my default, go back to my certs with dates paid, and let's do a full expand. Let's do it by subcontractor, there we go. And what I can do is save this, and I can share it with all other CIS users. Yes. Which again in CIS 4, believe it or not, you could do that in CIS 4, but you had to be, you really had to know what you were doing to do it. Not many people even knew it was there. But to be able to do that, if I change this, it offers me the chance to, if I change it, sorry, it will say, let's just add something else on the end there. Okay. Yeah. Any changes you make here will be applied to everyone. Are you sure you want to continue saving it? And I'll just say no on that point. How am I doing for time, Bruce? 10 minutes.
Yeah,
2 minutes left.
Another couple of minutes, yeah.
Another couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just going back to the subcontractors, which I sort of skipped over before. Just looking at this one here. So again, there's your accreditation numbers. When I've shown this to people, they've just said absolutely brilliant, really need that. And another one is the analysis codes, which people don't often use, but the analysis codes for subcontractors can be incredibly useful because they're especially for when you're looking at who you're going to ask these people to tender for or place orders for. For example, we've got one can only work in the Northwest or wherever. So that one could be location, that one could be type of subcontractor, all sorts of things. And because of the views that you can set up for any list view, then you could say, well, show me all the subcontractors, all the electricians very quickly. So QSs or buying could be looking at that instantly. So on my settings here, is that I wanted to show you? Yeah, email templates. Again, most people don't use the order templates other than the standard one, like the one I've shown you. But if you've got CIS's emailing set up, then you can specify, you can have as many order templates as you like, and you can specify which order template you want to be used when you place an order for this subcontractor. That's great because you can have a major subcontractor with very different terms and conditions to a jobbing subcontractor, for example. So that's another thing to bear in mind. Yeah, and the same with statements, all of this stuff. Yeah, and your defaults as well. Oh yes, I don't know anybody who's running a subcontractor bureau, although this thing will run it. And I don't know anybody who gives subcontractors loans, but you can set up loans for subcontractors. And they will be deducted from their payment certificates automatically, depending on how much the subcontractor is being paid according to how you set it up. So you could say if you're paying a subby £500, take 5% on the loan value. If it's 1,000, 10%, etc., etc. I have talked to people about why would you give somebody a loan who's a subcontractor? And basically, it's for buying materials up front, so it's not unknown. Or if they're in dire straits, for example, and you're feeling particularly gracious. So we do have email and accounts email, which does work if you've got automatic emailing set up. Not so good on CIS4, I gather, but not bad, but good on CIS5. Okay, I'm over my time now, Bruce. I've got 8 minutes left. I think I've covered everything. The only other thing I was going to say, obviously, but you probably all know this, with the CIS, if you don't re-verify your subcontractor within 2 years, I think as you saw on one of mine, CIS will shut them down, basically. So it's not a bad thing to regularly verify your subcontractors. And you can do a global verify here, which is great.
Excellent.
One more thing, sorry, Bruce.
No, please go for it. Yeah.
Dashboards. So we've got the 2 dashboards as standard. Don't know if you've looked at these, but I think they're really good. So there's my full CIS, basically what's owed to subbies, or creditors, if you like. If I just click on one of these, I get exactly what's owed to them with the little dashboard over here. And then the other one I get is my retentions one, which again is really good. I have tried exporting these. They don't export brilliantly into Excel, but I think this is great for looking at what you need to see for retentions, for example. But they are the dashboards that come as standard, and that's me. Okay.
That's great. Thank you very much, Louise. Thank you. So if we can kind of move on to the any questions now. I see Luina, there was a question on the chat. It says variations print on my subcontract or orders with a question mark.
Yeah, it wasn't really a question. I was just saying that Louise was saying that they don't print when she prints her orders, but they print on mine.
I'd love to know how.
I don't know. I get an Appendix B subcontractor order variations. They've always done so.
Yes, we have implemented that through the reporting, I believe, picking up data. So, Louise, I can let you know how we've done that, if that's the case. But I think most of our customers probably can do that.
Right. So it's not a standard. It's not as standard.
It's not standard. No.
Yeah, it's
done
something
that,
I've thought to myself that it must be able to do that on report layout. But yeah. So Bruce, you can send me one of those. Thank you. I'd be really grateful.
I certainly will. Yeah, no
much.
problem.
Okay.
I had a question. You made a comment about negative payments on the payment run for subcontractors. If there's a negative payment, the batch won't work. is that a negative payment per subcontractor, or is that a negative payment for the overall batch? I understand if it's the overall batch, but is that individual
believe
subcontractors within there?
No, you can't have a part batch posting. So what you would have to do is go in and untick that negative payment. It's not easy to be. You need to get a refund from the subcontractor, or just don't pay them until they invoice you again.
Okay.
So take them off the whole run.
That.
Yeah, go into the
That's
batch and untick them. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much for that. Has anybody got any other questions for us? No? Well, if that's the case, then I want to thank you very much for joining us today.